Today on the Texas Tribune Weekend Insider, Michelle Gaines was 19 when she was hit by a truck hauling an oil rig. She was in the hospital for 14 months, and her father and lawyers say she now has the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. She may never be able to live on her own. A jury awarded Michelle nearly $9 million. An appeals court overturned the jury's verdict. Reporter Brandi Grissom explains this tragic and unusual case. First, Julian Aguilar takes us to Eagle Pass. Teenagers are being recruited by drug cartels to smuggle marijuana across the Texas-Mexico border. So many of these kids are getting busted that law enforcement doesn't have enough room to house the delinquents. It's led the county to take donations for a new facility, which is being built in part by county employees and teenagers who have already found trouble.
Across the border from Eagle Pass, Texas, is the Mexican city of Piedras Negras in the northern state of Coahuila. And what's going on is that the cartels, mainly the Zetas, are moving a lot of pot, and they're recruiting these teenagers from the U.S. side. This happens all up and down the border. This isn't a new phenomenon. But what's happening is that there's so many getting caught with these loads in Eagle Pass that they've had to build a separate juvenile detention facility for these kids. So they're constructing this juvenile detention facility, but it's not just a jail, for lack of a better term. They have a garden out there. These kids are building the facility themselves. So they're kind of learning the trade, and he says it's the forgiving mechanism. They're on probation, they're court ordered there for 6 months, and while they're there they have to perform these duties of community service, and they're putting their community service hours into building this center. Another kind of good news, bad news is the counties don't have enough money to construct this facility on their own. So what they did is the Commissioner's Court in Maverick County gave them permission to use an old Air Force base, and half of the supplies for construction and plumbing or whatnot are being donated. So this is 50% philanthropy donations and 50% funds from the state and from the counties. So it's kind of a community effort to try to get these kids on the right track.
Michelle Gaines was 19 in 2006 when she had a really horrible car accident. A tractor trailer, an 18-wheeler carrying an oil rig, went through an intersection and hit her car, which left her with massive injuries. She was in the hospital for about 14 months, and she was in a coma for quite a few of those months. And now she has such diminished mental capacity that her father and her lawyers say that she's about equivalent to a 12-year-old. Michelle and her father sued the driver of the vehicle that hit her car. They sued the man who owned it, and they also sued a man who was a business associate. They allege that they knew that the brakes on that 18-wheeler weren't sufficient, and that they then proceeded to cover up their knowledge of that failure. A jury initially awarded Michelle more than $8 million as a result of what happened to her. But one of the defendants in the case appealed that ruling, and the 12th Court of Appeals overruled the jury's verdict. What her lawyers are now contending is that the ruling in this case sets up a situation where in the future people who are sued can cover up evidence of their involvement and then not face any repercussions or any liability. Lawyers for the defendant in this case, however, say he had no control over the rig or over the vehicle or any of the situations that led to the accident. And while he may have been doing business with the man who owned the oil rig, the accident itself had nothing to do with him. The Texas Supreme Court has said that they're not going to review the case, so that means the 12th Court of Appeals ruling stands. Michelle's lawyers have asked the Texas Supreme Court to reconsider their decision not to hear her case.